Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Dive, the Double Ds. I am Adam, the Renaissance Nerd. And normally we would start the show a little differently. Normally we start the show with humor. We start this show with just trying to break out of the mold. And I would generally ask, I hope everybody's doing all right. But those are questions that I already have answers to. I know a lot of people are not doing all right today. Yesterday, an assassination, a murder occurred. Charlie Kirk, an outspoken conservative person who had spent his life pushing the idea of discourse, was murdered. We're not going to mince words. We're not going to pretend otherwise. He was murdered. He was assassinated. And a lot of people are reacting to this in very different ways. So as I said, normally we would start with humor. I would do little self-deprecation stuff about me. You guys are in control because that's what the show is usually about. But no, today I am in control of the show. You guys are not going to direct traffic as you normally would, which is fine. I think we take a break from the norm. Yet not quite, not in a little bit of way. You'll understand in a few minutes because I've taken 24 hours to essentially sit on this because this happened shortly after we did our stream yesterday. And it had been one thing if it had happened live while we were doing our thing. It would have affected our show, but it happened afterwards. And we are it's not early static. We're 1 p.m. We're normal here. Nothing normal. And we're not talking about losing our sense of humor, Fernandez. We're not talking about losing sense of humor, but we do have to know when it's appropriate to mess around. And this show is about messing around. This show is about looking at pop culture, about looking at all these things. And while we're not going to do that today, that still is kind of the focus of the discussion today. So I want you to walk with me. And so here's how we're going to do this today. The normal rules do not apply. Usually the super chat tier, the stream elements tips tier, it's about you guys directing me to do stuff. I'm taking that off the table today. If you guys want to send super chats and tips to express your feelings, your thoughts, you're welcome to do so. We will get to that in the second half of the show. The first half of the show is I'm going to be sharing my thoughts as I have been collecting my getting my bearings, collecting my thoughts on this since yesterday afternoon. How I want to approach this, how I want to talk about this, because I am not a political channel, though I have a great deal of experience in politics, in both history and education concerning how our government works and how international relations work. I am not a political channel. I tend not to spout off on politics because I don't really want to. To me, it's something that I do privately, either by myself or in private with others. I don't generally share information. But today is a different thing because this is one of those moments where everything, the Venn diagram connects. All circles interconnect, and you cannot ignore these things. So I hope you are okay with the change in today's format because I think it is necessary, the way I want to approach today. But I cannot ignore this came in overnight. Our good friend Kratos El Grados, who's probably asleep right now because around 3 a.m. he drank a Monster while we were all hanging out on Discord, and he said to be up all night. For $30, Kratos, taking advantage of the normal tier system, $30 gets you a chat made me watch this reviews where I watch a movie and we talk about it from Kratos. Because I'll probably be asleep when you go live, I'm sending you this now. Go ahead and rewatch Supergirl 1984 and make sure to compare it to The Room in your review. I have, of course, throughout my life seen Supergirl 1984 many times, so this is not exactly something that's going to be jumping out at me. It is not going to be a fresh take. Kratos despises that movie, so I'm sure he will be interested to see how I compare it to The Room. So we'll get to that, Kratos. When you rewatch this, we'll get to that probably Monday, most likely Tuesday next week is when we'll get around to it, considering how the schedule is for the next few days and what will be going on. So we'll get to that next week. As always, I do fulfill those promises. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. But as I said, as far as today goes, we're going to not dispense with humor entirely. I'm all for it in the appropriate manner, but we must talk about this topic. I believe I would be remiss if I didn't touch on it. If I just went about normal business the day after, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right, especially because Charlie Kirk, what happened to Charlie Kirk, the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, is as relevant in what we talk about as ever before. Here's the deal, my friends. This is a pop culture channel. I talk about pop culture. I talk about culture. I talk about social stuffs. That's what I do. That's where I feel my efforts are most applicable in order to get messages out, because I have such a wealth of knowledge on nerd culture, decades of playing, watching, interacting. I know how to discuss these things that they've been butchered for the past, we'll say, decade now, by, we'll call it out now, the commie Marxist left. If you are any normal traveler of my channel, you know this is not the first time I have used that word, those words. Commie Marxism. It exists today. It has existed for the past 100 years or so, ever since Karl Marx decided to basically poison the culture of the world with what he believed. Lazy philosopher, and has caused more harm than anybody in history. That may be a hot take for some, but it's a truth. Understand his ideology, the Marxist ideology, which was further expounded by communism and socialism, has done more damage to the world than anything in the past 100 years. More people have died in countries ruled by commie Marxism than in totality anywhere else. So when I bring that up, you must understand, I'm not simply bringing it up to talk about politics, but I'm bringing it up to talk about what they called the long march through history. In the 1960s, Khrushchev basically said, we're not going to beat you in a war. We're going to beat you another way. We're going to infiltrate. We're going to poison, and we'll get them while they're young. That's the creed of commie Marxism. Get them while they're young. Indoctrination. What Charlie Kirk believed in was fighting that indoctrination. Charlie Kirk, and I will admit here now, I don't particularly follow Charlie Kirk. I didn't pay attention to what he did. I knew who he was. I generally knew what he did with TPUSA, but it was not something I really followed hard because he didn't need to speak to me. I have a decade on the man. I had a decade on the man. I hate to say it like that, but I had a decade on the man, and I did not need to be educated in the stuff that he was choosing to educate a younger audience on. So Charlie Kirk chose a path of discourse. He chose a path of discourse where he believed that speaking and educating and having clear and open, fair and even debating could change hearts and minds. And that is not an inaccurate belief. Sometimes that is how you must win hearts and minds. You must make them confront their fake, false, corrupted, poisonous, cancerous ideologies. I personally do not believe that. I believe there is no conversing with somebody who has given over their soul, who has replaced all religion with commie Marxism, because that's what it is to them. It is their religion. I am not particularly a religious man. I may be of the Jewish faith, but I am not particularly a religious man. But I do not frown upon people who choose the religious path because it gives them hope, it gives them structure, and it allows them to deal with the horrors of our world. Charlie Kirk believed in all these things. He believed in faith. He believed in open discourse. And unfortunately, he has paid a price, the ultimate price, for such for following that dangerous path. Because as I said, it is my personal belief, you cannot talk to these people who have replaced all things of faith, all things of soul, with ideology that is corrupting, that talks pretty language, but in the end is run by thugs, villains, and pure evil. So once again, I'm just thinking, Adam, you talk pop culture, you talk social issues like that. Why are you talking about this on your channel? Because here is a truth. Here is a truth that must be addressed right here and now. I have waited 24 hours to do this for the simple fact that other people wanted to take their time to appreciate Kirk, what he did to begin the mourning process properly. And while I know in conversations with some of you who I've had, my emotions did not go to the outright rage that others did. Maybe it was because I was taking a nap after yesterday's stream because I had stuff to do last night. I took a nap to rest up. I woke up to having this happening, maybe because I didn't have it live, maybe because I was catching up, and because I was in such a rested state that I took it on in sort of an emotionless moment. I absorbed it all. And my mind went into analyze mode, went to analytical mode, and I started looking at the big picture, knowing that today I was going to have to talk on this, have to speak on it. So I left the rage and the righteous fury to others who had no other way to process this but to feel that. And I still leave it to them. Process it, do it. Do not do anything silly or stupid. Do not do anything that gets you in trouble. But go process the way you need to. At the time and still now, the most emotion I have had and have in this moment is for his family. That I feel sorrow for his family. That is where my emotion went. But because my emotion simply went to their sorrow and I went into full analyst mode, I started thinking about, what am I going to talk about? Is there any way I can approach this where I can actually have a conversation? Not just well wishes and prayers and stuff like that, but can I take this to the next step? Because we're going to have to go to the next step eventually. The mourning process necessarily, but we must go to the next step. And that's where I'm going to go now. There are others who you have gone to, I'm sure, to process and get through this. But now I hope you will stay with me now and watch this as I paint the picture of who's to blame. We've mentioned commie Marxism. What is really to blame in this? Those who have been indoctrinated and those who push the indoctrination. What am I talking about? I am talking about entertainment, media. That's who I'm talking about. Let's think about this. For a decade now, ever since President Trump decided to run for office, we have been living in a world where people have openly cried for physical harm if you do not agree with their leftist ideologies. They have openly called for harm, openly called for murder. And for the longest time, it's like, okay, these are toothless people. They're just squawking in the wind. But we didn't realize until the past few years ago, it's become more and more apparent, is the fact that the indoctrination, the seeding of our institutions, be it educational, be it business, be it entertainment, commie Marxism poisoned multiple generations. Because what you saw yesterday, that is how communism weeds out those who don't share ideas. They kill them. Just ask Trotsky. If you understand history, just ask Trotsky. He got weeded out because he had a different version of communism. So they kill him. They kill you when you do not agree with the dogma. But here's the point now. I bring this back to this. We are here. Here is the entertainment industry, social media, news, legacy media. Over and over again, they have been pushing ideology, commie Marxist ideology, into all forms of entertainment and news and social media posting and gaming. All of it's there because that is the process. Softly integrated into a story, into a narrative. And then you watch it and you don't realize it. And the young who are susceptible get brainwashed, get indoctrinated. It's been happening all over the place. And the fallout of yesterday gave us all the examples I need to prove this to you, to prove my point. The enemy behind this, those who are responsible for creating a culture where somebody picks up a gun, goes to a rally at a university, and kills a man of peace. Charlie Kirk was a man of peace. Kills him because his words were more dangerous, changing hearts and minds, than the threats of violence from commie Marxist thugs. So I mentioned this. Let's look at this now. Let's look at the fallout from yesterday. And now this is the benefit for myself of having waited a day. Some of these issues have been resolved. They have been solved. But we must ask the question. They happened in the first place. First among them, we do know that an MSNBC talking head said something really retarded, really out of line, and they have since been fired. But let's remember, what has MSNBC done? What has CNN done for over a decade now? They have labeled you an enemy. They have called you a Nazi. They have called you many horrible things if you do not comply with commie Marxist leftist ideology. You are evil. And that is a core aspect in how you turn somebody into a monster, because they think they're a hero, because they're told over and over again in reports, in interviews, in stories that these people are evil. And well, wait a minute. I'm fighting evil. I have to kill this person because they're evil. So they feel justified, and that is the point. They want to create justification for actions. That is what the media has done. So MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, all these far left pieces of trash, yellow journalism, propagandists, they have spent decades telling you, telling people what's evil and what isn't. And some people are easily brainwashed, easily indoctrinated. Therefore, that is where it begins. It begins there. When trusted news sources are pushing narratives, evil, deceptive narratives, to twist your mind into doing horrible things. So that guy got fired yesterday. I don't know his name. I don't care about his name, but he got fired immediately. But MSNBC, there is blood on their hands. CNN, there's blood on their hands because they've been pushing these narratives. But it doesn't stop there. That's just the news end of it. Now let's talk about the entertainment. Chief on this list, the first thing we all saw yesterday were people maliciously gloating, happily celebrating the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is the double-edged sword of social media. You're free. You have the freedom of speech here in America to say what you want, but you are a monster if you do that. If you celebrated his death yesterday, and some people got caught, to use the term, caught in 4K. The first one that got caught, what turned out to be a tranny queerdo that worked at DC Comics. They just started a new Red Hood series. This person came out, said these, I'm not going to read this. You can see it right there. Said this despicable thing. And very quickly, the internet said, look who this is. DC Comics, Warner Discovery. Do you support this? Well, they reacted quickly, and this he, she, it queerdo was fired. But we asked the question, this person and many more before this thing that wanted to consider itself a woman but is really a man. It was hired in the first place, as were many others who have been putting radical ideology into comics, putting the words in the mouths of heroes like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, putting words in their mouth meant to indoctrinate, meant to twist logic into hateful thoughts. So the entertainment, they have been doing it in comics forever now. And the fact that they fired this monster, it means nothing, because why was this person hired in the first place? Why was every other person that has ever said a monstrous thing allowed to be there and say it in the first place? Because they all believe in the Marxist, commie Marxist ideology, and it begins there. You see people's mind to hate Charlie Kirk and people like Charlie Kirk who speak honestly from the heart and only want to debate you. And when you're losing that debate, when people aren't buying your comics, suddenly, the fear grips you and you must retaliate, because the commie Marxist ideology dictates a response of violence, not discussion. So it started with that one. And then there's this. Remember, it's in gaming too. We were already questioning stuff like Ghosts of Yote. Well, one of the senior developers cheering. And we go back, we connect this to the news, cheering that, oh, wow, I hope this guy's just like Luigi Mangione, who killed that CEO. People celebrated that. That is chaos. That is anarchy. That is commie Marxism at work, and they celebrate it. This game is DOA. But it's not the first game. BioWare, poisoned. Dragon Age the Veil Guard, nothing but a DEI training queerdo dating simulator meant to indoctrinate people into that bullshit. Ubisoft and everything they do. Other companies, Capcom, Bandai Namco, all of them guilty. Many American Western developers guilty by injecting all this agenda-driven nonsense into things that should be escapism entertainment, all to indoctrinate. So it is no surprise that you are indoctrinated. And no, it is not video game violence. That has nothing to do with it. Anybody on the right talking about video game violence, you're just as culpable in looking at the wrong thing. It's not about the actions on the screen. It's about the text, the color, the flavoring of what goes on in there. That is what it is. Teaching people to hate through a story has nothing to do with violence. They're going to read the context. They're going to somehow be connected to these monstrous characters that created. Remember, Dustborn, or whatever the hell it was called, the game all about being rebellion against the Orange Man's reality that he has set into place for them. These people think they live in a fantasy. I'm sorry, they live in a fantasy. They think their fantasy is reality. They think they're being hunted. You have people like Rosie O'Donnell mouthing off and creating these wild fantasies about the president and other people. They're obsessed, and they keep pushing this stuff, and some people listen to them. These are people who have voices. Stephen Colbert, all of them pushing indoctrination, pushing wild fantasies in gaming and television. Sooner or later, somebody cracks. They buy it. They eat it up, and they think, I have to stop this evil, so I'm going to start with a man of peace like Charlie Kirk, who is undefended. I'm sure he had security there. There were police on hand, but nobody was thinking about a sniper attack. This isn't like the president who has spotters looking around everywhere, making sure. There is no Secret Service there. There's none of that. Charlie Kirk was a U.S. citizen, a private citizen who did his best to protect himself, but probably never in his wildest dreams thought that somebody 200 yards away would take a shot at him. All because indoctrination through entertainment. Andrew Breitbart said it. He was correct. Ideology and politics. I've added the word ideology. He said politics. I've added the word ideology is downstream from pop culture and culture in general. These people are fueled by these things. So this guy talks Ghost of Yotei is done. It was probably going to be dog shit anyway, but it's done. Nobody's of note or merit is buying this game now. People are canceling pre-orders because indoctrination. It doesn't stop there, though. For years, we have given South Park a pass. I myself said many a time they are the equal opportunity offender because they always go after everybody. I'm not going to blame Parker and Stone. I'm not going to blame them for this, but I'm going to say they're part of the problem now. Because for weeks now, their obsession with President Trump, conservatism, and people like Charlie Kirk, who they put on an episode, and Charlie Kirk did what you're supposed to do. He laughed it off and he leaned into it. That is how you diffuse things. You lean into it, you laugh it off, you clap and say, all right, I made it. I've been parodied and mocked by South Park. But this isn't the South Park of 20 years ago. I heard the numbers. And I know because I watched the episodes for a long time. Obama got made fun of a couple of times, kind of offhand. Never anything about Biden the entire day. They ran seasons during Biden's administration, never mocking Biden, never mocking Kamala. They mocked Trump in 2016. Fair game. But now here we are. And South Park has been relentless, obsessive even, in their attacks on President Trump and mocking Charlie Kirk like this. So I am not going to say, do we blame South Park? No, we don't blame South Park, but they are now part of the problem by legitimizing this type of discourse, by making it so you can warp a personality, you can double down, and by singularly focusing on something and not being the equal opportunity offender. So let's point out, and here it is. They pulled an episode from a re-airing, but it's still there. It's still there. And I believe in this clip they showed Eric as Charlie Kirk being violent, which was not Charlie Kirk. Not a violent man. I've been done with South Park for a long time. I haven't cared. Now I really am done. Because I don't think Parker and Stone are fair anymore. I think somewhere along the line, they bought into it. So they're not to blame, but they are now a part of the equation, part of the problem. There is no proper way to defend a one-sided assault. So I've shown you these things, but it goes beyond that. Earlier this year, I spent a lot of time mocking Disney Star Wars, especially Andor and Acolyte last year and all those things because they're heavily agenda-driven. And I particularly went after Andor because notably they made it very clear Tony Gilroy is a dumb piece of shit who wanted to take reality and put it in Star Wars. And that was a clear case of feeding their audience. I have a lot of these. These are some of the ones, and I'm glad I saved them because here we are. Andor's ever more relevant. Free Palestine, the Gorman front, and its political lies by the empire seem all too familiar. This particular piece of shit right here. These people are fully indoctrinated. They need entertainment to reflect what they believe, and it only spurs them on. During Andor, this was constant. Whether you agree with it or not, it shouldn't have been there. These people are broken, but they're broken because of decade and more of commie Marxist leftism pushing through entertainment. And let's not forget, Superman did it too. James Gunn's Superman did it too. It was in there. We didn't comment on it heavily because it was brief and you couldn't exactly line it up, but it was also in there. It's in all these current movies, MCU, DCU, Disney Star Wars, Disney Pixar, all of it, television shows. Rings of power. All of it's in there. And it has been there. And it's the medium through which all these things. Charlie Kirk was essentially murdered because entertainment normalized these things, from news to movies to books to comics to games. They've spent over a decade, more even perhaps if you dig deeper, normalizing all of this so that a psychopath, a broken individual, will feel justified in murdering, assassinating a man of peace. It's that simple. Understand what we're doing here. Understand why I will keep covering pop culture the way I do. Because one must shine a light on these things. Everybody who covers pop culture, we are doing this because we realized something was wrong in the things we used to love. We saw it. Some people couldn't put a name to it because they may not know the history of commie Marxism, leftism. I do. So I can put a name to it. The destructive force that means to indoctrinate and cause people to act violently when you disagree with what they believe in. And all these forms of media, as I said, from news to entertainment, have normalized this. That is why Charlie Kirk is dead. Because they normalized it. They made it okay in some crazy person's mind to kill a man of peace who only ever wanted to talk to people. So in the wake of this, my hope is that while we should all remain vigilant, protect each other, protect your families, watch out, do not fall back into complacency. Be active, but do not be reactive. Do not make a mistake of doing what they want you to do. What you need to do now is think carefully. Speak up. Keep shining the light on everything. That is what they don't want. Sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. They cannot hide from it. So, one might say, Adam, you're silly to be talking pop culture in these times. No, it all came from this. Because poisoned pop culture by commie Marxist leftism leads to the evil acts we are seeing, the normalization of evil. Evil must not be normalized. I can't go out there and physically fight evil, but I can point it out. I can shine a light on it. And others will do that too. And if we spot these people, call them out. If we stop normalizing it, that's how we push back. Do what Charlie Kirk wanted to do. Keep talking. Have discourse, but have discourse with each other. Have discourse with people willing to listen. I will say this. There's no more trying to convince leftists. They're lost. They're done. They were broken long before this, but now it confirms there is no open discourse to have. But talk to your loved ones, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to people who are willing to listen. Support people who are speaking truth, facts, and logic. When they are threatened, let people know this person is being threatened. Let's keep an eye on this. Let's look out for each other. That is how we beat this. By not being silent. They want us to be silent. They think a thuggish, violent act will keep us silent, but it will have the opposite effect. We are now going to be more vocal than ever. Charlie Kirk did great things. He introduced youth who were disillusioned and wondering to a more common sense approach. And now it's time for people to pick up his cause and keep going, keep taking it forward. And I hope that in all of this, a lot of people are able to find some comfort and peace in processing all of this. And I hope in some way, shape, or form, if you're watching this, I hope you found some understanding in a way to how to deal with it. I myself, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I hope that everybody will continue to support anybody who is calling out truth, shining light on evil. Okay, we're done with this now. All right. All right, I am now done soapboxing. We can now discourse, guys. Now we can discourse. I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat while I was talking. Yes, Kel, I did see that. And that's why I support Square Enix Japan and I don't support Square Enix America. Yeah. Listen, let's remember, Square Enix America, they are villains. Remember, they hired a tranny to be Wook Lamont on purpose. And it didn't help because Wook Lamont's also a terrible character. I mean, you aren't there yet. You'll understand when you get there. Wook Lamont is annoying as fuck. And it doesn't help that the character is a tranny queerdo. Well, yeah, F Square America. I support Square Japan. I support the mothership. So fuck Square America. Yeah, I did see that. It's sad and disheartening. And yeah, Alf, I haven't been so much done with South Park. I just haven't cared. But there is blame to be placed at their behavior, their obsessive behavior with the Trump administration. There is. So let me scroll back up here, make sure I caught some guys. Let me check stream elements, make sure nothing there. All right, so $6.90 chip from Fernandez T. We live in interesting time, homies. I am glad to be an American during these crazy times with you guys. Thank you, Fernandez. And we're happy to have you here. We are happy that anybody can find connection and support because we survive all of this by looking out for each other. And I'm serious about that. I mean, I am by no means a loud or large voice in our sphere. I'm still climbing the ladder. But some of the louder, bigger voices, they have been threatened. We know they have. We've seen it live on stream. We heard about it. People show up at meetups and stuff like that, ready to cause problems. People try to get people hurt. And I know for a fact, I've been told that a lot of money gets spent on security at meetups to make sure that nothing bad happens. So a lot of this stuff, we have to look out for each other. That's the only way through this. That's the only way through this. I don't go near Reddit, gal. You know I don't go near Reddit. That's sick. Reddit, listen, Reddit's a fucking trash fire. Reddit's a trash fire. Always my opinion always has been. Whenever I end up on Reddit, it's reluctantly. If I'm looking for an answer to something, it's completely reluctantly. Anyway, so everybody who came in while I was doing my monologue, hail and howdy. I hope you're doing okay today. Hope you're doing okay. Please hit that like button if you are at all feeling proud that we're all standing together in this. We're all got to stand together. See, I mean, Daddy, say that. I never understood the point of Reddit, honestly. I've never understood the point of it. Just because it's always was a disgusting place. It was a disgusting place, and I hated it. So now, I mean, whatever you guys want to talk about now in relation to this, we've still got at least another 20 minutes of the show left. We go at least an hour here minimum, and I do have to go out. We do sort of have a hard stop because my car is done. The headlights are fixed, so I got to go pick up my car, and I got to run some errands before I go pick somebody up. So we do have kind of sort of a hard stop between 2 and 2:30. Anyway, hail Vinginger. Yeah, man. Yep. Thank you for the well wishes, dude. And send your best thoughts to the Kirk family. That, as I said, that when this was all going down yesterday, as I was absorbing everything, as I said, my turn signal weren't working. They're apparently the fuses keep shorting out, and they haven't figured out why yet. The wiring on my car is really dumb. It's a 2005 Chevy Classic. It's essentially a Chevy Malibu. The wiring's really bad, and they haven't figured out why. This is like the second or third time this has happened. So they haven't figured out why the fuses keep shorting out. They fixed it, but they don't know why yet. And so hopefully it doesn't happen again. It's a good car. The wiring is just shit. The wiring is crap. I like my car. I got it for a good deal too. I got it for $6,000 three years ago. So it was pretty good. 2005 it only had when I got it. It only had 58,000 miles on it when I got it from 2005. So it was really good deal for that little mileage on it. And it does well. We've had some stuff replaced on it, of course, but it's doing well. Anyway, back to Vincer, man. Yeah. So thank you for the well wishes. Send your best thoughts to the Kirk family, because that's where my mind is. My mind is with the Kirk family. I feel sorrow that his son, I believe it's a son and a daughter. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's a son and a daughter. He will not be there now for their important moments in their lives. He will not get to, his daughter will not have him at her wedding to walk her down the aisle. See, that's what's getting me. I feel sorrow thinking about this. And he will not be there for her wedding to walk her down the aisle. He will not be there if his son has triumphant young male moments. He won't be there. And his wife, his wife, I can't fathom that. I mean, listen, I lost my dad when I was 5. He died of essentially pneumonia SARS. Then he died in like a 24-hour period, caught it dead. It's a wild thing to think about. So I have very few memories of my dad. And I would like to think I would have made a lot of different decisions if my dad had been alive. If my dad had been alive, I would have made a lot of decisions. I'd probably be better with women if my dad had been alive to guide me a little bit better in my youth. But I can somewhat understand the father not being there, but that crushed me. It's one thing my dad died of an illness, a sudden illness. Charlie Kirk was just he was taken from his family now. He was taken. And that's a wound. I mean, the death of my dad, that healed because I was so young. His impression was somewhat, but not a lot. And I'll never know how much it took my mom to recover from that because she remarried. And of course, my stepdad ended up being a dumbass in the end. A lot of mistakes because of that remarriage. But I can understand your dad not being there, but my dad just vanished because of a freak tragedy. But Charlie Kirk is gone because of evil. And that's what hits me. And they are lost. This is something they will never cover. It will always be an open wound, especially with his wife, who has the most memories. The children are young. They'll have some memories, and they will feel his presence. He will feel the lack of his presence at all those key moments as they get older. But man, that's what hits me. I feel the sorrow. My empathy extends to them. Exactly. If it is your way to send the thoughts and prayers, like this, man, send your thoughts and prayers. I send best wishes because I said I am not particularly a religious man, but I send best wishes. I send good thoughts, and I feel empathetic. Yeah. That's what gets me the most. The kids have lost their dad. A loving wife, a good partner has lost her husband. And it's something that will never quite be right. That's what gets me the most. My anger at commie Marxist leftism, I've had that anger for so long because I've studied history, I've studied government, I have useless degrees, masters, and all that shit. My rage, that is a rage I always have, and it's cold, it's hardened, and I apply it to my analysis. My rage at the entertainment media, be it news or Hollywood, that's also a cold rage at this point. It's not something that gets me fired up as easily as it used to. It's all in it. I compartmentalize everything in its place. And I access that passion, that anger when I need it to. I don't let it rule me. And that's one of the things I hope people will think about this now. Don't let any of this rule you right now. Don't let any of this rule you. I may not have agreed with Charlie Kirk's choice to try and talk to these psychopath leftists, because I believe what I said. You can't talk to these people. But I applaud him for it because he was a better man than I was. A better man than I was. A man who had that kind of hope, that believing in people better than I did. I'm not a cynic by any means, but I am a realist. And my realism told me there's no dealing with people, but he was a better man than I can say that, honestly. Hell, of course, a better man. A decade my junior, had a nice family. Look at me. I'm sitting in a room in a stupid apartment that I paid too much for. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. I don't have a family. I've been through I've been through one ruined career that lost me money. I made a bad financial decision or a bad choice that has ruined me financially for almost a decade now. And I tried to correct it by getting more education and putting myself deeper in debt in a career that didn't pan out. And here I am now talking on YouTube, trying to reach my dreams. So he was a better man than I. He had all this stuff figured out. He did the right things. So I can easily say Charlie Kirk was a better man than I. He made right decisions. He made the smart decisions. And this is an epic tragedy. Epic tragedy that could have been avoided. Because here's the thing now. What would have happened in all of this if we had spent years, instead of people cowering in front of cancel culture, what if people had a spine and stood up to it at its height? What if we had called all this stuff out? This could have been stopped if people were brave enough to call this out, because I truly believe the news media, the entertainment media, Western entertainment, modern day gaming, all the shit, modern day, it is all responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. Because what I said before, it normalized all this shit. Normalized it all. It normalized it. And it could have been stopped. But people were too afraid. People afraid of, I don't want to be called a racist. I don't want to be, I can't say this. Oh, no. Oh, I don't want to look like I'm too angry. No, anger is what you need right now. But again, Vinzinger, man, I just say, don't never trust the commies. But we need to act wisely in all of this. We need to act wisely. But we could only do hindsight. What could have been if we had a stronger front? What could have happened if we had stood firm and not let Star Wars fall and become the vehicle of agenda? Look at the Acolyte. Look at Andor. Look at the Mandalorian. Look at all the High Republic. Look at all the crap. What if we had stood firm and not allowed Star Wars, the biggest franchise in history, in modern entertainment, science fiction history, that reached around the world, had hundreds of millions of fans? What if we had stood firm and stopped it? What if we had stood firm and stopped Star Trek from falling? Star Trek, which classically said, I'm going to present you, Gene Roddenberry Star Trek, I'm going to present you with all the facts, and we're not going to bludgeon you with one opinion or another. We're going to leave it up to you to figure it out for yourself and have thoughts and have proactive, logical discussions. What would happen if we had stopped Star Trek and Star Trek was still giving you episodes that made you think instead of lecturing you? What would have happened if we hadn't lost Doctor Who? What would have happened if the MCU had not degenerated into the MCU and all the shit in there? What would have happened if we had called all this stuff out? I'm asking this. I have no answer because I don't know. My hindsight may be 2020, but it doesn't give me an answer. All I can know is that I would like to believe we wouldn't be as far gone as we are. That these weirdos running around all over the place wouldn't be able to run around and go, yay, I can do and say what I want. And no repercussions, because know what it was? No repercussions. How many people in the past 10 years have said heinous, horrible shit and had no repercussions, while we speak the truth and they try to destroy our livelihoods? Somebody explain that to me. There it is, though, because they normalized it. They normalized it. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. This could have been stopped. Could have been stopped. But commie Marxism took hold in 2008 when Obama got elected. Yeah, I said it. God damn, America. Remember when that happened? And the apologies ran around? Oh, he was just in the pews. In the pews. Repeatedly. When you elected a commie Marxist as president, like Obama, this is where the road took. Because America had to be apologetic for its slavery racist past. We had to apologize for it all, even though every person with a brain in their head, racism had essentially been solved. Nobody cared if you were gay and getting married in the 90s and the early 2000s. Nobody cared. But then here comes Barry. Here comes Barry. Barry started it. Started lecturing. Oh, Trayvon was the son I never had. Remember that? You remember that? It started there. They started normalizing hate there. They started telling them they could hate us, and then they started indoctrinating people in entertainment media that if you talked out about that, you could be hated and you're evil. It started there. The normalization began right there. And here we are. A man who only talked about peace is dead because his words were more powerful than their threats of violence to this point. That's the truth. I challenge anybody to push back on what I'm saying. I am a student of history. I have a worthless degree in it. I am a student of government and international relations and public relations. I have several degrees on that. Worthless. But at least I understand. I may be in debt up to my eyeballs, but at least I understand. Barry's friends were terrorists. Manchurian Candidate. He was a fabricated person. And then and all the I mean, again, we're getting political, but it's unavoidable today, and I apologize for that. We don't do politics, but it's unavoidable today. Whoever's running Biden's account says no room for violence. Well, that same account was calling for acts of violence through the entire campaign last year. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget the likes of Rachel Zegler spewing hate, calling for violence against people who don't think the way she does. Let's not forget every single person right now out there who don't want to work with certain companies who are aligned with certain things here and there. They're no better. Blaming other people for the acts of evil, no difference. So now I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry thinking about the source of it all. That's what's getting me angry. Because as America, we let this happen. We let the discourse turn into what it was because we were all too afraid. Listen, I admit, I had my head in the sand for a number of years prior to 2008. After that, I did all I could. I tried to get education to get a career in policy. I tried. I have 2 degrees. Like I said, I got a degree I have a BA with honors in government and international relations. And I have a master's in public administration, and I have half a master's in communications. I tried to get into it. But because I thought the way Charlie Kirk does, all doors were slammed in my face. Especially because I didn't want to work on the Hill. I didn't want to work for a congressman or a senator. I wanted to be an analyst. I wanted to examine things. I wanted to come up with solutions. But I got turned down over and over again for jobs because I didn't have the right connections and I didn't think a certain way. I tried to do what I could and I failed. But we all failed because a lot of us normal people, I'm not calling us normal, I'm just saying we're normal. We still believed in talking things out. We still believed in normal discussions. A lot of people didn't realize that There is no talking to a communist. You're not going to convince a communist to change what they are. I mean, this hot take. Joseph McCarthy was right. He went about it the wrong way, but he was right. The communists were fucking everywhere, and here they are now. Their following generations have ruined everything. Ruined everything we love, and now because they normalized violence, a man of peace is dead. A man of discourse is dead. Because his words were more powerful than their threats, than their ideology. His words were helping to defeat their ideology. This is what we need to do. What we're doing here. We need to keep talking. In a sense, that is what we must carry on Charlie Kirk's legacy, talking, pointing things out, strengthening ourselves. No more reaching out to them. That's done. If you reach out to them, I'm going to call you now. If you reach out to them, you are a fool. After this point, if you try to reach out and talk to a commie Marxist leftist, you are a fool. They don't want to work with you. They want to hurt you. They want to hurt your family. They want to let crazy people remain on trains and kill an innocent woman. And they want to indoctrinate you to not helping that innocent woman. You realize look at the past month. Tranny Queerdo shoots up a school. Left tries gun problems. Not the insanity of what they created. The normalization of evil. Psycho murderer who should be in prison kills a woman on a train. People sit there and watch her die. They do not move to help her. They do not move to stop him after the fact. Because they've been indoctrinated to be afraid. They've also been indoctrinated, especially if they are a different color, brown, black, whatever. They've been indoctrinated to hate Whitey. Fuck that cracker girl. She got what she deserved. That's what they're thinking because they've been bred that way. In my entire life, until the era of Obama, I never thought about race. After Obama, I've said this before, ever since Obama, on occasion, I will walk down an aisle and I think about if a black person looks at me, I wonder, gee, are they thinking about kicking my ass because I'm white? Up until 2008, 2009, that thought never crossed my mind. But for the past 15, 16, 17 years, that thought is in there because they did it. They did it on purpose to drive a wedge into society because that's what communist Marxism does. They find wedges, they break us apart, and they cause chaos so they can just dig deeper and poison further to the core. Call out communist Marxism. Call out the true source of all of this. You know I'm not just simply parroting on things. If you've been a part of this channel, you know I've been saying that for years. You can go back, watch videos and streams. I have been calling out commie Marxists for years. My own grandfather, may he rest in peace, a brilliant, beautiful, lovely man who I never knew because he died of a heart attack. He was a communist because he came out of Russia in the early 1900s. He believed in that stuff. He thought it was, he was the idealistic version. He believed in a bettering of man through working together. He believed it. But he would not have stood for this because he was a man of integrity and good. He took care of his family. He provided for them. He loved his family. Made sure my mom grew up safe and protected. And now, here we are. Because people have allowed this poisonous ideology. It's not It's not fascism. It's not just fascism, communist socialism. It's a circle. If you understand how it works, it's a circle. It comes around. The communists and the fascists meet at the top. They're all the same. Nationalist Socialist Party. Here is where we go from now. The next step forward, we keep talking, but we call the shit out for what it is. We call out Disney. We call out all of them for pushing commie Marxist bullshit, for driving agenda into this. You do not hate stands and shills enough for knowingly, willingly pushing. I showed you the clip. He's talking about it. Arctic is talking about it right now. It's there, and they believe it, and they push it. You do not hate these people enough because they are all commie Marxists. Every one of them. Call them out, point them, shame them. That is how we win this. If they come at us with violence, we respond in violence in the moment, but we do not go out there and start the violence. What we do is we point, we shame, we call them out, we shine sunlight down upon them so the world knows who they are. They know that we are America, we are a republic, we're not a fucking democracy, we are a republic, a constitutional republic run by the people. And we call this shit out and we stop it here and now. It ends here. People talking about a line was crossed. Things have changed. This is the change. I'm not talking about going out there and fighting a civil war and shit like that. No. What we do is we unite and we understand who the true enemy is. Communist Marxism, leftism. It bred this. It normalized everything that led to the death, the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk yesterday. Understand that. And if you don't understand that, I can't help you anymore. You probably don't want to listen to me. You probably don't want to listen to people like me. Vigilance, diligence. Watch out for people. Watch out for your friends. Respond when they come at you. That's where the vigilance comes in. If you're vigilant and diligent, watching out for yourself, your friends, your family, people around you, you are ready to respond when they come. And then you bring the hammer down. Then you bring the hammer down and you show them you don't fuck with America. You don't fuck with American citizens. You don't fuck with patriots. That is what you do. That is how you deal with it. And they're going to be running scared. And this is going to be a dangerous moment now. Let's be clear. We are moving into very dangerous territory. They're all going to be, they're cheering at this moment, but they're going to respond with more violence as we back them into corners, as we shame them, as we shine light on them. They're going to respond. They're going to try and bait you. But you stand shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and sisters, fellow patriots, fellow Americans, and you can push back on them. Protect your kids, protect your schools. Look out for, if somebody's in trouble, don't just rush in yourself. Look, say, you, hey, come on, let's go. Try and get help, because that way, the more we stand together, the weaker they are, because you know what? There are more of us than there are of them. It's that simple. Understand that. But don't do anything stupid. Be careful. Don't fall into their traps. Don't end up alone. Don't end up looking like the villain. Work together. Make sure somebody's got your back. Make sure somebody's watching your back and you're watching theirs. Talk about these things. We keep talking. This is why tomorrow we go back to normal. We go back to normal. And we keep talking about things. Jay Fraser, for 10 British pounds. Hail, Adam. I'm currently catching up, but I'm worried for the fellowship. The same rhetoric used against Kirk is aimed at us for speaking the truth. My thoughts are with the Kirk family and the USA. Thank you, my friend. I know you are over in the UK. And that's what I'm just saying. We need to look out for each other. We should not retaliate. That's what they want, because then they could say, oh, look, here come the fascists. No. You look out for each other. I mean, you got your own problems over there too, my friend, and I feel for you. You don't have a First Amendment protecting you like we do. So I hope that you are able to survive there, my good friend, and I appreciate your support. So thank you for the 10 British pounds. And yes, thoughts to the Kirk family, as I said. And Kel, you're my hero. You're my hero, Kel. Kel, congratulations. Congratulations. Here we go. So this is the thing. So guys, we let's keep working together. I have to wrap the show up because I got to go get my car now because I am on the clock here. I got about an hour and a half to get my car, and then I got to get some things done before I got to be someplace at 4 o'clock. I'd love to keep doing this. I will. Tune in on Roundtable. Join us on Roundtable, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 2 p.m. Eastern for the moment. We'll be continuing this conversation. Jed and Dre will get a chance to share their feelings on this. And so join us for then. We'll continue the conversation then because this is a conversation and I want their thoughts. So thank you guys. I know that this is a difficult time for everybody right now in some way, shape, or we're all dealing with this differently. This is how I dealt with it. I talked about it. You need to talk about it more with people. Go find somebody to talk about. Go find another stream to hang out in, talk in the chat, express your feelings. And I appreciate everybody showing up today, giving their time to hear what I had to say. And if you missed my monologue segment, it will be edited and re-uploaded later tonight as a standalone video, all on its own, separate from our discussion. Because that was for me, and then the rest of the stream was for us to talk together. Tomorrow we'll be back to normal, where you guys will be in charge and you can torture me and we can return. As Fernandez said earlier in the stream, we cannot lose our humor. That's what they want to take away from us. My advice to everybody else for the rest of the day: take care of yourself. Do something for yourself. Go play a video game, watch a movie, watch a TV, read a book, take a walk if you need to, go talk to somebody. If you need to go someplace and find some connection, do whatever you need to do. Get that, heal yourself. Take care of yourself for the rest of the day. Me, I got to go do some stuff. I won't be back till later this evening. So I do not think I'll be streaming again today. I will, however, though, later tonight, we'll be playing Final Fantasy 14 with the boys. We'll be playing some 14. If you want to play Final Fantasy 14 with us, you are invited. There's plenty of room. We're having fun. We're just having a good time. And that's what it's about. So find a way to relax and decompress and process. And tomorrow is the next day. The sun's going to rise. And we're going to keep fighting this fight. We'll make fun of pop culture. We'll make fun of all the shit that we hate tomorrow. So thank you, guys. I will see you guys later. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Have a good night or day, wherever you may be.